You are told to fear poverty, so you spend your life chasing income. A higher salary. A better contract. A more impressive title. A cleaner number at the end of the month. And because that pursuit looks responsible, almost nobody questions it. It feels adult. It feels disciplined. It feels like progress. But there is a trap hidden inside that logic, and it is one of the most expensive traps in modern life. The more you organize your future around income alone, the more vulnerable you can become to the very thing you think is saving you. Because income can rise while freedom shrinks. Income can rise while pressure deepens. Income can rise while your life becomes more polished, more expensive, more admired, and far easier to control. That is the income trap nobody warns you about. It does not begin with recklessness. That is what makes it so dangerous. It begins with improvement. You earn more, so you upgrade a little. The apartment gets cleaner, brighter, closer to the city. The clothes become sharper. The dinners improve. The trips become more refined. Your calendar starts to look like the calendar of someone who has finally moved up. Even your posture changes. The world reflects your upgrades back to you. People treat you differently. You treat yourself differently. And because everything around you now looks more elevated, you assume your position is stronger. But what you have often built is not strength. It is a more expensive version of dependence. The trap is simple. Your income rises and your life expands to meet it faster than your power does. Your standard of living grows faster than your margin. Your image grows faster than your reserves. Your obligations grow faster than your leverage. So although you appear to be advancing, your room to think quietly begins to disappear. Suddenly, the bigger salary is not creating freedom. It is feeding a structure that now demands to be maintained. A beautiful structure, maybe. A socially admired structure, definitely. But still a structure that punishes hesitation, punishes rest, punishes experimentation, punishes mistakes. And the moment your life starts punishing mistakes too aggressively, you are no longer building power. You are building exposure. This is why income by itself is such a weak metric. It tells you what comes in. It tells you nothing about what remains. Nothing about what can survive a shock. Nothing about how fast your lifestyle would collapse if the inflow slowed down. Two people can earn the same amount and live in totally different realities. One has silence in the system. The other has noise everywhere. One has reserves, low burn, flexibility, and a mind clear enough to choose. The other has subscriptions, appearances, social expectations, financing, and invisible panic hidden under polished routines. Same income, different life. Same number, different power. The tragedy is that the trap often disguises itself as success. It does not feel like danger when you first enter it. It feels like validation. That is why so many intelligent people walk straight into it smiling. You are not seduced by poverty. You are seduced by the aesthetics of progress. The upgraded lobby. The tailored coat. The premium car scent. The rooftop dinner with glass and skyline and soft gold reflections. These things are not evil. They are not the problem. The problem begins when they stop being optional expressions of taste and start becoming requirements for your identity. The moment you need the performance to feel legitimate, income has stopped serving you. You have started serving the image income allows you to maintain. And that is where the hidden pressure enters. Not the loud kind. Not the dramatic kind. The elegant kind. The kind that shows up as a permanent hum in the nervous system. You begin to notice that saying no feels harder. Leaving feels riskier. Slowing down feels irresponsible. A wrong quarter feels heavier than it should. A delayed payment irritates your sleep. A bad client becomes tolerable. A weak opportunity starts to look acceptable. Why? Because your life no longer runs on financial strength. It runs on momentum. And momentum is one of the easiest forms of dependency to confuse with power. The income trap becomes even more dangerous when the people around you applaud it. That approval matters more than most people admit. The upgraded lifestyle gives others a clean story to believe about you. You look established. You look accomplished. You look on your way. And social recognition has a powerful narcotic effect. It can make structurally fragile choices feel emotionally intelligent. A luxury car financed too early starts to feel like evidence of growth. A bigger apartment with no strategic purpose feels like adulthood. Constant consumption begins to masquerade as arrival. All of it looks defensible. That is why the trap survives. It speaks the language of ambition while quietly reducing your freedom. If you want to see the trap clearly, look for this pattern. The more you earn, the less margin you feel. That is one of the purest warning signs. If income rises but your breathing room does not, something is wrong. If income rises but your ability to walk away stays weak, something is wrong. If income rises but you feel more dependent on constant flow, more emotionally attached to performance, more frightened by disruption, then you are not getting stronger. You are becoming better dressed inside a more fragile system. And fragile systems do not become powerful just because they are expensive. Real financial power begins when you stop asking how much you make and start asking how much control you have. Control over time. Control over stress. Control over decisions. Control over exits. Control over pace. Control over who gets access to your energy. The income trap survives because it keeps your attention on the wrong scoreboard. It teaches you to worship the visible number instead of the invisible architecture. But wealth is architecture. It is not applause. It is not proof. It is not an audience-friendly lifestyle. It is a structure capable of holding pressure without changing your character every time the room gets colder. One of the deepest costs of the income trap is that it trains you to confuse activity with progress. You work harder, earn more, spend more, maintain more, and because everything is moving, you assume you are advancing. But movement and advancement are not the same thing. A treadmill moves too. Many high-income lives are just beautifully furnished treadmills. There is motion, there is exertion, there is visible effort, there is even admiration, but no real escape from dependence. And if your financial life cannot survive a pause, then it has never really belonged to you. This is why the first real move out of the trap is not earning more. It is reducing your financial noise floor. The noise floor is everything in your life that quietly demands money, attention, and psychic energy just to keep your image intact. It is the stack of monthly commitments that make you less flexible than you appear. It is the polished version of chaos. The subscriptions, the financed upgrades, the recurring luxuries that no longer feel optional, the expectations you built for others, the aesthetic standards you now have to maintain to remain legible as successful. Noise is expensive because it makes mediocre opportunities feel urgent. It clouds judgment. It makes your standards negotiable. When you reduce financial noise, something subtle happens. You start hearing your own thinking again. Desires become easier to examine. You stop mistaking pressure for purpose. You become less reactive. A quieter system does not just save money. It restores dignity. Because dignity is hard to preserve when every month feels like a performance review conducted by your own expenses. The people who become dangerous in a strategic sense are often not the loudest earners. They are the quietest operators. Their lives contain less unnecessary friction. Their systems ask less from them, which means they can choose better under stress. The second move is even more misunderstood. Build reserves not only for emergencies but for standards. Most people think cash reserves are boring. They are wrong. Cash is one of the most elegant forms of self-respect ever invented. It is not glamorous on the surface, but it changes how you move through the world. It gives your values somewhere to stand. Without reserves, principles often become decorative. You say you value peace, but you tolerate chaos because you cannot pause. You say you value respect, but you accept bad terms because you need immediate inflow. You say you want to be strategic, but your timeline belongs to urgency. Reserves interrupt that pattern. They do not make you rich overnight. They make you less obedient. The third move is to stop building your life as if income were the only engine that matters. Income matters, yes. But income without ownership is often just better paid labor. And better paid labor can still leave you deeply exposed. Ownership changes the game because it keeps working after your immediate effort ends. That can mean equity, revenue share, intellectual property, a cash-flowing asset, a stake in a growing system, or something else that carries value beyond your hours. Ownership does not need to begin dramatically. It only needs to begin early enough that your entire future is not built on the daily resale of your time. This is where many people hesitate. Ownership feels slow. Salary feels immediate. Ownership feels uncertain. Income feels concrete. But the trap thrives on immediacy. It wants you living so close to the monthly cycle that anything slower feels irrelevant. That is how people end up years into success, with beautiful routines and almost no real detachment. They are earning but not escaping, working but not positioning, performing but not compounding. Once you see that clearly, the question changes. You stop asking, "How do I get paid more?" and start asking, What can I build that continues to matter if I am not actively touching it every hour? The fourth move is to increase leverage in your skills, not just depth. A lot of competent people remain more controllable than they should because they are too dependent on a single lane of relevance. They are excellent in one narrow context and exposed everywhere else. But when your abilities stack, when you can understand money, communicate clearly, negotiate, spot incentives, build systems, and make good judgments under pressure, your power increases across environments. You become harder to corner, harder to dismiss, harder to reduce to one employer, one role, one identity. The income trap loves single-lane professionals. Leverage breaks that dependency. The fifth move is social, and most people underestimate it. Build a reputation that compounds in private. Public image can attract attention. Private trust creates access. The strongest opportunities often do not arrive because you looked impressive online or performed success well in public. They arrive because the right people have associated your name with consistency, calm, discretion, and intelligence. Someone thinks of you in a room you never entered. Someone mentions you when a deal appears. Someone wants you near money because you do not become expensive when emotion rises. That kind of reputation is not loud, but it is deeply protective. It makes future income less fragile because future opportunity no longer depends only on your ability to market yourself visibly. The sixth move is one that almost everybody delays too long. Buy back your time before you decorate your lifestyle. A larger income should improve your control before it improves your scenery. Better tools, better systems, better logistics, fewer useless obligations, smarter delegation, less friction. A lot of people do the opposite. They upgrade the apartment, the dinners, the aesthetic, the social atmosphere, while their time remains crowded, fragmented, and exhausted. Then they wonder why life still feels rushed. But time is one of the first forms of wealth that actually changes your mind. Once you own more of it, your decisions become cleaner. You stop being whipped around by noise. You become more strategic almost by default. The seventh move is to get closer to capital allocation. Not just money, but decisions about money. There is a major difference between working near commerce and working near allocation. Plenty of people are around effort, production, and sales. Far fewer are around ownership structures, acquisitions, deal logic, incentive design, and serious deployment of capital. The closer you move to those environments, the faster your understanding of power deepens. You begin to see what actually scales, what attracts money, what protects value, what multiplies upside, and what merely looks glamorous from the outside. Distance from allocation keeps people mentally trapped inside the wage cycle. Proximity changes perspective. The eighth move is to use debt intelligently, if at all. Debt reveals maturity very quickly. Immature debt is used to accelerate appearance. Mature debt is used carefully to strengthen future position. That difference sounds simple, but it changes lives. If debt is funding identity repair, short-term admiration, or comfort that weakens your range, it is not helping you. It is training your future to carry your present vanity. But if a financial commitment increases productive ability, lowers meaningful friction, or supports a structure that strengthens long-term control, then the conversation is different. The point is not to glorify debt. It is to stop pretending it is neutral. It either builds architecture or decorates dependence. The ninth move is optionality. Build alternatives before you need them. Waiting until you are under pressure is one of the most common financial errors ambitious people make. They wait until the job worsens, the market chills, the relationship with money tightens, and only then do they scramble for exits. But exits built under emotional pressure are ugly and expensive. Optionality built in advance is elegant. A backup path, a side skill, a second network, a growing audience, a saved runway, a reputational lane, a small asset, a trusted connection near opportunity. Optionality is not about paranoia. It is about refusing to let your future sit on one weak leg. The 10th move is learning the true cost of comfort. Comfort is seductive because it feels earned, reasonable, civilized, like what a successful person should naturally have. But comfort becomes dangerous when it silently raises the minimum conditions required for you to feel okay. The more your peace depends on high maintenance, the more your courage begins to shrink. That is the hidden tax. Not the monthly payment itself, but the reduction in your range. Can you still take a smart risk? Can you still leave a bad situation? Can you still survive a slower season with your standards intact? If the answer keeps getting weaker as your comfort improves, you are not becoming stronger. You are becoming more expensive to stabilize. The 11th move is psychological. Redefine success as reduced controllability, not increased admiration. This is where your internal language matters. If success means looking established, you will keep making choices designed to be legible to strangers. But if success means becoming harder to pressure, harder to rush, harder to destabilize, your priorities change instantly. You stop asking, "How do I look more successful?" and start asking, "What increases my range?" You stop asking, "Can I afford this?" and start asking, "What future does this remove?" Different questions produce different lives. The income trap survives because it gives you the wrong definition of winning. The 12th move ties all the others together. Build financial calm, not just financial success. The ultimate goal is not visible excitement. It is a quieter nervous system, cleaner decisions, more stable standards, less drama around every fluctuation. Financial calm is one of the rarest luxuries in modern life because it cannot be convincingly faked for long. You either have the underlying structure or you do not. Calm does not mean passivity. It means your systems are beginning to carry more of the strain. It means you are no longer emotionally tossed around by every number, every opinion, every shift in conditions. That is when money stops behaving like a source of identity and starts acting like a tool of sovereignty. None of this means beauty is the enemy. It is not. Refinement is not weakness. Taste is not the problem. The problem is reversal. When appearance outruns architecture, life becomes elegant on the surface and brittle underneath. You can hear it in speech. You can feel it in negotiations. You can see it in the way people panic when conditions cool down. The strongest people are not always the most visibly luxurious people in the room. Often they are the calmest, the least impressed, the least eager to prove, because their stability does not depend on constant visual evidence. So start quietly. Cut one unnecessary demand. Build one layer of reserves. Create one source of optionality. Improve one leverage skill. Move one step toward ownership. Buy back 1 hour of thought. Protect your name. Lower your noise floor. That is how the trap loses power over you, not through drama but through disciplined restructuring. The people who escape it are rarely the people trying hardest to look powerful. They are the ones building the kind of life that no longer needs to announce its strength. And when that shift finally happens, income stops being your identity. It becomes just one part of a larger position. A position that can hold pressure. A position that can survive silence. A position that no longer trembles every time the room gets cold. If this video changed the way you think about income, subscribe. Because here we don't just chase money, we build position, control, and quiet power.